Okay, we're on video now, or on recording. Good to see you all. Good morning. Happy Cinco de Mayo. And for those of you who don't celebrate much on that day, I apologize. And what happens on Cinco de Mayo when it falls on a Friday is that the celebrations continue from Friday till Sunday, and there's a lot of consumption of tequila. And it just really means that Taco Tuesday moved to Taco Friday. That's really what really happens on Cinco de Mayo, right, Tom Smythe? So,
yeah, you're right on the money. Yes,
yeah,
absolutely.
yeah. I was in Long Beach on Wednesday, and the guy that I was visiting took me to a Mexican restaurant, and they had something I'd never heard of before. It was ribeye fajitas.
Mm.
And so I ordered that, and he ordered the 3 taco plate because he said, oh, it's $21 for 3 tacos. It was a very high, fancy place. And I said, yeah, that seems good. So he ordered the lobster taco, the mahi-mahi taco, and the blackened shrimp taco as his 3. But what he didn't look at on the menu is each of those 3 tacos had an upcharge. The lobster one was an additional $7 for that. The mahi-mahi one was an additional $4, and the blackened shrimp was an additional $3. So it was 3 and 4, 7, $14. So it was $35 for 3 tacos. And I was paying the bill. I didn't really care. I was just giving him a bad time because I've known him for so long. And I said, yeah, so much for your $21 3 tacos, dude. They're $35 for 3 tacos. Yeah. So anyway, but my ribeye fajitas were amazing, amazing. So I celebrated Cinco de Mayo on Cinco de 3. Okay. All right. So I'm really excited about what's going on now. Selena and I, as you know, and I think most of you are starting to know who Selena is. And if you don't, I'm sorry. Is that we're starting to notice with our coaching clients that things are opening up around the country. And what happens in this case is that it gives people permission to realize that what's been going on for them in their business has also been going on for a lot of other people. So number one is it starts to affect your mindset when you start seeing other people doing business when you haven't been, but you start to realize that you are, let me see, I lost you guys because the phone rang. So that you start to realize that you're comparing yourself to others. So the first part of our mindset talk that I wanted to talk about today as we get busy on this is that we have to stop thinking about comparing ourselves to others. We have to we have to stop that. But if you look at the fact that all across the country, we're starting to see our coaching clients are getting busier and busier, you could use it as a sign of hope. You could use it as a sign of, oh my gosh, I'm going to go out and bust it now because look, everybody's starting to get more business. So maybe, and Jim Knowlton, who's one of our top coaches, also said today, just keep going after the activities, the results will come. And the reason I was kind of excited to get started today is that on our coach training call, which we have every Friday from 7:30 a.m. to 8:30 a.m. Pacific. So it ended about a half hour ago. Selena was the center of attention because she said, and I'll let you do it, Selena, but she basically said, just do the thing. So Selena, talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, they were making fun of me because they said I sounded like a Seinfeld episode. I said, it's interesting because people will always think that there's some secret sauce, right? They're like, they look to coaches or they look to people or they show up to an event and they're always looking for whatever the magic is, right? You're looking for some new answer for what's going to generate business. Especially as people are struggling a little bit right now or have been, and you're looking for some new thing, right? You're looking for what's going to give me business right now because maybe you're not generating as much as you were. And my answer to you is there's no secret sauce, and I joked and I laughed and I was like, well, I'm going to like dig in my pocket here and be like, oh, here's the thing. And there is no thing. Right? I'm not going to give you secret sauce. There's no magic beans that I'm going to give you. In reality, I'm going to tell you to go back and look at your past transactions for the last year. We're going to look at whatever your top lead sources were. And I'm going to tell you to do that thing. And I'm just going to tell you to do more of it. Okay, that's the secret sauce. Whatever you were already good at for the past year, whatever you were already incredible at for the past year, just do more of that thing. You know, and they were joking because I kept calling it the thing. And I'm like, that's the thing. That is the thing to do, right? It's that secret sauce right there. You are the secret sauce. That's it. If it was geographic farming and that was your primary lead source and you were really good at it, great. Let's just double down on geographic farming. I have 2 coaching clients on this call right now. We looked at their thing. We know what their thing is. We absolutely know. And we were like, hey, that's your thing, you know? So we're going to do more of the thing.
Yeah.
We know that's your magic, right? So there's no secret sauce, guys, right? We're just going to do more of it. Go ahead, Rick. I see you're sharing. your screen.
Yeah. So, and look down here. I've shared this with you guys before, and it's in your email about the Free Friday coaching call. This one down here that says 1MT, 1MT, and it's one more thing, one more time. And it's never rung more true than in this marketplace. Now, I want to be honest with you. I'm super excited about what we've done on the Free Friday coaching calls over the last several calls, like the last probably 6-7 months. We've had incredible guest speakers. We've had incredible people talking about effective ways to create the mindset and the activities that will bring you results, period. Like results. That's what we all want, results. Most of us want results, and we are not committed to doing any activity on any specific time. So there's a couple of points that we have to bring up here. And then I am going to ask Selena a little bit about what Aaron said on the last call. Aaron Wittenstein, if you were not on for that call, that was a great recorded call, but so were the 5 or 6 or 10 before that. I mean, and I'm not taking credit, neither is Selena. It's because we've had amazing guest speakers. So what I want you to remember is that the daily success habits form that's in here in your email, there's a link to it at the bottom of the emails that you get about the Free Friday coaching calls, are all these different ways to keep track of your points. If you get 61 points in a day and you do that 5 days a week, you should be closing 2 to 3 transactions a month if you're doing it on a regular basis over a 6-month period. And all the different things you get a point for. However, and I'm going to stop sharing now to get your attention on this subject, is people often ask me, in life, we need to have 4 pillars of income. Okay. In real estate, we need to have 4 pillars of income. Okay. In life, real estate might just be one of our pillars, right? We might have investments, we might have property, whatever. I don't want to go into that, but I do want to talk about that in real estate. We all have one thing that gets us a lot of our business, right? For me, it's referrals. And then if we started to break down referrals, I'd have, agent to agent referrals, consumer to me referrals, like different kinds of referrals. But what I want to go back to is we all have that one thing we know to, it's our go-to. Some of you are great at open houses. Some of you are great at warm calling your database and your top 50. However, it is incumbent on us to build 3 other pillars, even if they are only a very small percentage of our business. We still will start to build those so that we go back to the old saying, you don't want to put all your eggs in one basket. That basket falls, all your eggs are broken, right? So if we start working on the referral pillar, and then we work on maybe the open house pillar and all of these different ways of doing it. The one thing that Selena, when Selena said it, it really rang true for me, that do the thing that you're really good at. And right now it takes more of that thing to get the results than it did before. And I think that's the point she was making. And I was literally like, people were having fun on the call because we're talking about some of the top coaches in the country, saying, oh, Selena's the thing, that's got to be a Seinfeld episode. And, we said we should do a video about the thing. And the joke behind it was that one thing that she's talking about, it's no secret sauce. It's your one thing. You already know it better than anybody else does, whatever that one thing is. Tom lives in a development where everybody knows him, right? So he could up that one thing. How? Maybe by hitting the development more times per year than he ever has before, doing a concerted mailer or something. Who knows what it is, but it is going to be more of the same thing you're doing than you've ever done before. And that's why I'm encouraging people, for instance, that farm or mail or do whatever they do. If you are, trick question, if you give somebody something once a month, how many times did they get it in a year? What's the answer to that? Selena, you're not allowed to answer. Somebody else has to answer. I don't hear anything. It's a simple question. If you give somebody something once a month, how many times a year did you give them something?
12.
12. Thank you, Christy. I appreciate you jumping in there. Okay, 12. Do you know what happens if you gave somebody something once every 3 weeks instead of once every month? It increases the number to 17 times a year, which is 40% more than 12. So that's the exact example of doing the thing more than you did before. You go, well, if I'm mailing, that's going to be more expensive. Yes. But what if you were door knocking, right? It doesn't cost you anything but the soles of your shoes to door knock more, right? And believe me, the way shoes are built today, they'll last, believe me. So if you were door knocking once a month and then all of a sudden now you started door knocking once every 3 weeks, and let's be honest, you're not going to be able to do as many doors in 3 weeks as you would in a month, because let's say you said, I'm going to pick 300 doors or even 400 or even 500. If I pick 500, I have to do 170 doors a week, 171 doors a week for 3 weeks. And then then that means when I get to the end of 3 weeks, I've done. And then the beginning of the next week, I'm starting those same 500 doors or 300 doors, pick 300. 100 doors a week is 20 doors a day, 5 days a week, right? It's not a big deal. But what I'm saying is, if you can just up the game more than you have before, then it's going to bring you results more than you've ever seen before. And we witnessed this between 2008 and 2011. You didn't have to stop doing what you did. You just had to do a hell of a lot more. I remember it would take me 3 times the number of doors to get the same number of leads I used to get with 100%. Now I'm at 300% to get the same number of leads. So that's kind of where I want to go with this. And that's the whole idea about having your other pillars. If you've been making your calls, what's going to be your next pillar? And a lot of times that for some of us here, it's going to be open houses. How many of you like open houses? Raise your hand, but yeah, they're getting to be more effective now than they've ever been. The interest is up, not the interest rate I'm talking about. I'm talking the interest in real estate, talking about real estate. I talked to one of my buddies yesterday, day before yesterday. Yeah, I think it was yesterday afternoon. And I said, how you doing? I said, what's all that noise? He said, I'm in a bar. And I said, and it was early. It was long before the Warrior game started. And I said, what are you doing there? He said, I'm waiting for my son to come out of his karate class. And I always come into this bar. It's the worst dive bar in the world. He said, but everybody always wants to talk real estate when I'm sitting here having a drink at this bar. And I'm like, you're a freaking genius. He goes, yeah. And he started talking about all the different things people were talking to him about, and that he's working on a commercial listing that he picked up in that bar and he said, the guy, he goes, talk about, not judging a book by its cover. The guy looked like he couldn't rub 2 nickels together. Right. And he's talking about this commercial building he owns and he needs to sell it and do a 1031 exchange. So whatever is this guy's pillar now is a bar, a dive bar. Right. So go figure. So what I'd love to get some participation on is what's working for you. All right. Not because it's working for you and we want to give you kudos, which we do, but more because then everybody else on the call, including all the people that watch the recording later, can get an idea of maybe an idea that they hadn't thought of that would work for them, because we all are doing the one same thing. We're doing whatever we can to avoid direct communication with human beings. I know you don't like hearing me say that, but that's what you're doing. You're like, oh, could I door drop instead of door knock? Sure. It's better than not doing anything. But if I had my preference and I were coaching you, right? Like my 37-year-old son, I think I've shared with you before, is suddenly telling me that he's going to move back up to where we live from the Southern California area and start selling real estate with me. And so last week when he told me it was probably going to be October or November, I said, all right, are you willing to come up and door knock with me? The area I'm talking about door knocking is when he was 4 years old and his brother was 1 year old. Now he's 37 now, so that was 33 years ago. I would be pushing his brother in the stroller at 1 year old, and Anthony would go up and give the flyer to the people at the door. He'd knock on the door and give them the flyer. And they would give him cookies and money and wave at me on the sidewalk. And then as they grew older, the same farm, we put flags in the lawn on July 2nd and 3rd for the July 4th. And that, so I said, come up here when you're, because his job is sometimes on, he's in the entertainment industry. So sometimes he's on, sometimes he's off. And I said, just come up here for a week and we'll door knock the crap out of that same neighborhood, because his mother still lives in the neighborhood. And we can door knock the crap out of that area. And it'll be the father-son team. And believe me, there's a lot of original owners that are still there from when I was door knocking with them way back in the day. So I think it'll be very effective. So I haven't really been door knocking that much because, you know, I just haven't. And I don't live in that town anymore. But man, I'm super excited about doing it with him with me, right? Because it'll bring a whole new look to it. It'll be, so that's what I'm talking about, is what's working for you, what's different, what can we glean from your experience, not just mine and Selena's. So speak up. Just unmute yourself and start talking. Dun, 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 dun. I'll wait. I got
Not
all day.
everybody at once. Really calm down.
So am I coming in? I'm not sure about my internet.
Yeah, you're good. You're good.
Okay, so something I used to do and I just started reaching out to do it again. I sat down with a insurance salesperson yesterday. And I asked them if we could sit down and start calling all of their policies that are coming due and see if we can't do a home health checkup for their insurance, because then we're avoiding the do not call list. And we're gonna check and see if they're covered for their house, doing like an RPR, just a real quick report, send it to them. And then also the question to be asked if they're planning on selling soon and making appointments to get into that house sooner.
So you're actually helping the insurance agent get more business against his will. Wow, that's amazing. And I'll tell you guys something that's really cool that came up in the coach training call that kind of goes along the same way. We've coached at Workman Success Systems. We've coached mortgage companies. I think we've coached title companies. We coach real estate agents. And they just recently took on a huge inspection company. And the inspection company is seeing incredible results because they're coaching them on sales techniques. But these guys are inspectors. They're not salespeople. And yet they're following the scripts and the dialogues given, and their business is freaking blowing up. So if you think about what Sherry just said, what is she doing? She's getting herself a favor by helping the insurance agent get more business. This is incredible, Sherry. And are you going to be able to subscribe other insurance agents? Or are you going to try to stick to the one because of loyalty or what?
When I did it in California, because I was successful with this in California, there was one agent that was in my office, so I was exclusive there. I'm not sure that I'm going to stick with one agent here. I just want to get it started and see what it looks like, and we'll see what happens.
Nice. I love hearing that. Okay. Who else wants to come off mute real quick and tell us what's working for you? Please, guys. If you're getting business, you're getting it from somewhere, even if it's from your neighbor coming out the front door saying, oh, by the way, the neighbor down the street's getting a divorce. I don't care. What is it?
I'll say something.
Thank you, Patrice Payne.
Since you said neighbor, I hope this doesn't sound weird. What I've been doing when you said avoiding people, what I've been doing is trying not to avoid people. I like people and I like to talk. And I started asking myself, well, why aren't I talking more to people just in regular conversation? And believe it or not, real estate issues kind of come into the conversation. I was just talking to my neighbor. I've lived here a long time now, 20 plus years. I know everybody on my block. I think I do. But all of a sudden, because I'm opening my mouth and saying hi, I talked to my neighbor, as a matter of fact, and through our conversation, he told me he was interested in buying a house in Hayward. Now, it didn't turn into the business that we wanted for that particular time, but he didn't even realize that I could do this for him. I told Marty, I'll check into this house for you. And we had this little business relationship going on for a couple of days, but it was so much fun. And now we say hi with a different vigor. Now, I didn't even know he owns property in other states, and he kind of on the side does it. He wants to retire soon, and he'd like to have a house. I mean, I've known this guy for years, yet I didn't know this angle of him. And so it's kind of working for me to open my mouth and talk to people. And I've made some other great connections just in a week that are going to result in business. And it's just because I decided to talk.
To ask questions, to be a human being. This is what we do. What gets in our head is that I'm going to sound salesy. Why don't you eliminate out of your head that you're a real estate agent at all and just go back to being a normal human being? Normal human beings walk out of their door and talk to their neighbors. And they say, how are you? How's your family? What's going on? Hey, anything I can do to help, right? Even if you're not a real estate agent. And this is the thing. I'll tell you a good example. My favorite Lebanese restaurant, you guys all know I'm 100% Lebanese, is in LA. It's actually in North Hollywood. And the name of the restaurant is the name of the town that my mother was born in Lebanon. So I had an opportunity. I was down here. I found out that someone that used to be my assistant in the 90s that lived in the Bay Area, she had moved to Montana years ago, but through just keeping track of her, I found out she was down here in LA for a little while. So I said, oh, let's get together. Have you ever had Lebanese food? She goes, no. So we went, and I picked her up at where she was at, took her to dinner at this Lebanese restaurant. Now, I've known this girl for 30 years. And sitting at dinner, I found out so much about her because in the act of her being my assistant, I didn't get as much time to ask. I asked a little bit about her life, but she was much younger then, 30 years younger, right? She was in her 20s. And so we basically caught up on 30 years of what had gone on in her life. And, you know, we had started doing that several months ago when we got reconnected, and she was going to get her real estate license. She's invested heavily in real estate in Montana. She used to have lots of real estate in the East Bay in Northern California. And she ended up getting her license and joining me. And but we had never still talked. And it was so good. I heard about all these different things. And then by hearing her story, she was able to help me with some things I was working on in the health side of life. And I was able to help her with some financial information on that side of her life. It was really incredible. So Patrice, your example is amazing. If we just start chatting with a few more people. And that's why when I tell people having something called a relationship farm is generally the people that you would door knock once every 3 weeks. And that would generally be just the couple 100 to 300 homes right around where you live, because you're waving at people as you're driving in, you're waving at people as you're driving out. You're seeing them when you're in and out of your car. You're seeing them at the neighborhood grocery store or 7-Eleven or whatever. Like it works. So thank you, Patrice. That's an incredible example, but more importantly, that you are grinning so big because it worked. Go ahead, Selena.
Well, I also want to remind people that you shouldn't be a secret agent, right? You know, and when you come at it from the perspective of who can you help, right? Okay, so a lot of people have concerns based on what they're hearing in the media, and there's a lot of hesitation about the real estate market right now. Okay, and remember that you can calm those fears. And maybe they don't know anybody in real estate right now. And all they're hearing is about it's a terrible time to sell. And it's, oh my God, it's crazy. The interest rates are so high and it's a terrible time to buy. And you might offer the perspective that they're not getting if they don't know anybody in real estate. Okay, so when we're a secret agent and we don't share what we do know because we feel like I don't want to be salesy, you're actually withholding that information from the people in your life. So when we're just saying, I don't want to say I'm in real estate, I don't want to tell those people because I think they might think I'm trying to have commission breath, we're actually doing a disservice to those folks. right? We're not sharing that knowledge. And instead, like my son was so cute yesterday. He's in Korea right now. He's on deployment and he's adorable. And he's like, hey, mom, I don't want to bug you, but I've got some guy and I forget, Camp Pendleton. He's like, he's signing up again. He's going to be at Camp Pendleton. And I know you're really busy, but could you check on home prices down that way? And he wants to know if he can afford it and da 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 da. And I was like, hey, bud, yeah, I know peeps. I'll find somebody for you, and whatnot. And he was like scared to ask me because he thinks I'm too busy. And I'm like, dude, I'll find you somebody. Don't you worry. I got you, whatnot. And he's all worried about asking me. And I'm like, don't worry about it. It's remember that there are people out there who could use your help. Okay. They're worried that all they have right now, some people, that's all they have is the media, and the media is not out there to help people. Okay. They are not out there to help people in the real estate market right now. They're out there to freak them out. They're out there to scare them and sell commercials at the moment. That's literally all they're out there for. So remember that when you're out there saying hello to people, and if you're not advertising that you're in real estate in some way on something on your person, when you're out there taking walks, or if you've got a cute freaking dog and you don't have them wearing a cute little t-shirt that says my mom sells real estate or my dad sells real estate or something like that, you need to be thinking about that and advertising that in some way. Or if you've got a cute kid wearing that stuff or doing something like that, that's an opener that makes you less salesy as it coming out of your mouth with commission breath, right?
Yeah.
Get a cup that says it at the back of your laptop skin or something like that. But it's an incredible way to kind of open the door without you sounding commission breathy, but don't be a secret agent. There are people out there who are wondering if it's a good time to sell or wondering if it's a good time to buy. And maybe they don't want to have a stranger, and you have that information. You literally have it.
And Bruce, I see your hand raised. I'm going to call on you. And yeah, she's making a great point. I heard so many people say, just coincidentally in the last week, and when Selena was talking to me about what we're going to talk about today, I said, it comes to me right as I start talking. But in the last several weeks, I've heard people say, well, this is what they said. I know nobody's listing their home because they don't want to let go of their home that has a 3.5% interest rate on their loan. Okay, that's bull. Okay, I call foul. People have to sell their homes sometimes. Divorces, job relocations, births, deaths, like you name it. People are selling their home. And when you don't see people selling their home, it's almost never about what the interest rate is on their mortgage. Where did that come from? Like, who created that thought that people weren't selling their house because of the interest rate that they have on their current mortgage? That's not typically the reason. The reason is generally petrified. And we have research. I work with this financial company out of the Bay Area that does 1031 exchanges, and they orchestrate the exchange and they supply sources for 1031 properties. And they have done proof. They have seen proof that the bigger reason people won't sell in this marketplace is for fear, an unfounded fear that they wouldn't be able to find something to replace it, no matter what state they're moving to. Okay, that's our job, is to alleviate that. So just another thought to throw into your head, and then I'm going to call on Bruce. Go ahead, Bruce.
Yeah, Selena brought up a great point. But to tell you what we're doing, and I got into it this morning, Bernadette has been going to the dog park, and we're getting business out of there. I don't know if we've told you this before, but we're getting business out of there. People who she's just talking to are just in regular conversation, and invariably people would really truly want to know about real estate. But what Selena said about the media, I want to ask everybody here, when's the last time you heard media say anything good about real estate?
Or about anything. Yeah.
Anything good about real estate? Even when the market was flying, they found a way to bring negativity into it. It is something that, we have to, as realtors, fight every single day, but we can only do it one at a time, one person at a time. And obviously that's the reason why we're getting what we're getting from Rick and Selena. We just have to talk to more people. It's all about conversations. I was in a networking group the other night, and a gentleman who has no business anywhere like ours. He was a marketing genius as far as I was concerned. And his main thing he said at the end of it all, the moral was, we need to have more conversations. And then the light bulb went off in my head 10 times during his conversation, but that one was one that was really, really relevant. It's all a numbers game. And I don't know how many times I have to realize that, but I realize it every time I come across something that reinforces that. So it's like, yeah. It is a numbers game, and we just need to talk to more people. Simple as that.
I have said it a million times in the last maybe 2 years. He who has the most conversations wins. He who has the most conversations wins. Lenore's got her hand raised.
Go ahead, Lenore.
Unmute. Hi, I'm Lenore Smith in Houston. I've been looking through my past business, and I was very encouraged to make a top 50 list. And recently I've been told, do a top 100, just keep on growing and growing and growing. But what we usually do is once a quarter, we try to give out little Popeye gifts, whether it's like just a little stick for their yard, I'll stick it in a flower pot by their front door. It gives me a reason to call them and say, hey, did you get my little gift? Oh, it's been forever. What's been happening? How are the kids? And then I just make notes. Oh, so-and-so, now he's in high school. He was 4 when I sold him the house, that kind of thing. And I'm just trying to keep tabs on everybody and just kind of say, and I'm always so like, oh my God, I don't want to make this call. And then like, hey, Lenore, how you doing? What's going on? And I don't know. And then I kick myself. I'm like, why does it take me so long to pick up the phone?
And
But
she's
the
so
Popeye's
good
the
at it.
most- But the Popeyes definitely give me an excuse to call. And so I'm trying to do that more often and just expand. Instead of just 50, I'm going to make my top 100 list. And actually, I'm working on that right now.
Lenore, can I ask you a question, honey?
Sure.
Are you from some Houston that's on the East Coast where they have an accent like that, or?
I'm
Just
from New
curious.
York, yeah. I came down in 91. You mean I still have an accent?
I can
Yeah.
do it, Houston, New York.
That's what I was thinking.
I thought that
There must be a Houston and Brooklyn.
Bronx.
Hey, Rick,
Yeah.
Rick,
Yeah, who is that?
yeah, this is Randall Smith. Me and Lenore work together.
Oh, hey, Randall, how you
They're
doing?
married.
I'm good. What an interesting thing that I've noticed, all of last year, 55% of our business came from past clients working our top 50.
Wow,
This year so far, it's 75.
75%?
Yes. So
Wow,
what Selena is saying is absolutely correct. Find out what's working
yeah,
and just do more of it.
yeah. Well, I
That's why
mean,
we're going to the top 100.
yeah, and one of those great calls that we had, which was what, Selena, 3 or 4 calls ago when we had Tammy Slay on, talking about using her top 50, received 104 referrals in 2022 and closed 76 of them. Come on, guys. That's like, I think we could all be good with 76 transactions in a year. So, yeah.
Is that recorded? I'd love to hear her.
It
yeah,
is.
it's on the same
Tammy
recording.
Flay,
Yeah.
F-L-A-Y, right?
Yeah. I'll
Just
send
like
it to
Sam,
you.
Lay. Yeah.
Okay.
And she's right over in Dallas, not too far from you. So,
Yeah, just 5
Yeah.
hours.
yeah,
It looks close on
a
the
lot
map.
close. Yeah, it's a lot closer than Brooklyn, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's a really good one. I wanted to ask, I don't generally like to call on people. If you don't want to talk, you don't have to, but Betty Fernandez is on the call. She's from Ventura County in Southern California. Betty, would you be willing to chat a little bit about, I got to visit with her in person yesterday for about a couple hours, and she's doing some incredible things. She used to have an appraisal background, and she's using all of her knowledge about, she does senior. Betty, can you pop on? Are you on there?
Yeah, hold on.
Okay. Oh yeah, okay. As long as you're unmuted, that's fine. If you don't want to turn on your camera, that's all right. I just wanted to.
Okay, sounds good. I'm feeding my dog right now.
Okay, so tell them a little bit about your, like, how you created a whole nother business with Senior Transition Services. Tell them a little bit about that, and then how you give that away as part of your listing agreement if they're not, if they're doing something different. So talk about that.
Okay, so during the pandemic, or actually before then, I had read a book about the boomer burden and how seniors were in long-term homes and they needed to move to assisted living or downsize because now they're in a 2-story house and they can't navigate the stairs or they've fallen or, things like that. So I looked at the problems and I wanted to find a solution. So through this last, 9 years or so, I decided to just include what I'm calling a senior transition service, which basically takes care of all their personal belongings to make sure that they get to the family first, and then donations, and then trash. And I've even sold cars, gotten rid of environmental hazards, whatever the problem is. I have artwork, reviewed by art critics or whatever, put up for auctions, whatever their challenges are. And I include that with a 6% commission and I keep 3.5%. But during the pandemic, I started getting calls from agents saying, look, I have a client, she's estranged from her family or doesn't have a family, and they need help. And could you do this on the side without selling real estate? Well, at the time, I didn't even know what to charge. So initially I said, no, I don't do that. But then as time progressed and I started seeing other companies that do larger moves, for people that, there's one company called Gentle Transitions here, and their minimum charge for what I just shared with you is about $5,000. And so I could really help people, save money. And of course, they pay the mover and the packer separately, unless it's a very small move. So during the pandemic, some of the people that were in assisted living had to move out to go to a board and care home. And I don't know if you all know what that is, but a board and care home is where there's 6 residents and they all have their own room pretty much. And there's a door to the exterior and the door goes out to, the backyard. So the family could visit with their loved one, because when they were in assisted living with the pandemic, they weren't allowed to see their relatives. So I started doing the small moves from the assisted living to board and care homes. And I do the space planning, and I'm there to coordinate the move on moving day. And I help them unpack, put their things away, and make their bed for their first night's sleep.
Wow. Isn't that amazing? And that was another service. And then she advertises that as part of her listing service. And she talks to her neighbors about it. Look, bottom line, we can't avoid that there's 78 million people in the world that are boomers. What's the guy talked the other day? I saw a guy talk last Saturday. He said 10,000 people a day are turning 70. 10,000 people a day are turning 70. You don't have to have a version of that marketplace or a portion of that or a small market share of that marketplace, but you could choose to, and you don't have to be their age to win that business. Okay, that's the fact. You don't have to be 70 to earn a 70-year-old's business. When I was 22 and I got into the business, those first 10 years, 22 to 32, I worked with a lot of seniors. Why? Because I identified them like my parents. Got it? So we can work any age group we want. We just have to decide that we're going to be educated on what their needs are, period. So it's a really good way to add another pillar, as we talked about earlier in the call. So, all right. Who's next? Who else has something they want to share about this subject of what's working and what you could do differently to create more business for yourself and to give ideas to everyone on here also? Hello.
Why is everybody so quiet today?
I know, we got a few people talking. Okay. All right, so in the absence of any words at all from any of you, I'm a little disappointed that my friend Crystal Freedom didn't say anything, because she's creating business through helping people. She gets money for helping people place a tenant into their property, She does a lot of different things like that that add to her ability to list it when they're ready to sell it, things like that. So there's a lot of people on here doing things that they're not necessarily sharing with you, because I know a lot of you. Some of you might take a language, for instance. Maybe you have a language strength that I don't have. Like I don't speak Spanish. Spanish is the Hispanic market is huge in California. That's not a market that I get to take advantage of because I don't. Now I do speak Arabic, and I've never really gone after targeting people who speak Arabic as a way of selling houses. And I've had my own reason, but again, you could say it's my mindset problem, because I have a belief inside of me that if they know I speak Arabic, they're going to ask me for a portion of my commission. And so therefore I don't pursue that, but that's just a mindset. How do you know that's going to happen until you go do it? Right. So that's kind of what I'm talking about different ideas that you are using. If you have a cultural thing that you're familiar with, or some of you, it's your church, maybe you're like the guy I visited in Long Beach. He is from New Jersey. He's been selling real estate in New Jersey for umpteen years, like 20 something years. And he just moved to Long Beach. And instead of just moving to Long Beach, and apparently the reason Long Beach is called Long Beach, I didn't know this, who knew, is because it's very long. It's a very big city. It's 30 minutes from one end to the other.
That's
by car.
crazy that they would call it Long Beach because it was long. That's just like crazy talk.
I'm going to kill you, Selena. when I see you. But no, because I had never heard that, but I was like literally driving from one end of the town to the other in my rent-a-car. And I'm like, holy cow, it takes forever to get where we're going on the other end of town. But there's an island in Long Beach called Naples Island in Long Beach. And it's a lot of richer people live there because it's right on the water and there's yachts and stuff like that. And he rented a house on that little island. And all he's doing, he's been there for 2 weeks. He's already met most of the people whose homes face the water. And those are like anywhere from 8 to 15 to $20 million properties. And there are people inviting him over to sit with them on Sunday brunch day. Like he said, oh, just come over. And there's people taking him to dinners at the clubhouse and everything. He's this, 6'2" single gay man, right? And he just loves talking to people. He doesn't know a stranger. So he's building a real estate business, and he hasn't even finished getting his California real estate license yet.
What did I tell you I was going to do today, Rick? What did I say on our call this morning? Who's here in my neighborhood?
Oh, the 49ers are in her neighborhood. So she's going to go,
They're holding an event in my neighborhood. I was like, guess I'm going for walks this weekend. I'm going to go to the golf course. I'm going to take some walks.
Yeah.
I was like, guys, take advantage of the situation that you're in.
I'll join you, Selena.
Yeah. I was like, who wants to go to dinner at the club?
Yeah.
Like,
Well, and just that, going to dinner, like if she's going to go to dinner, it's not unusual for you and your husband to go to dinner at the club, right?
nope.
So now, okay, instead of eating at home, we're going to maybe take one of those nights and go to the club and not talk to each other,
Right.
but talk to others, right? So yeah, there's lots of ways to do that. So yeah, it's really incredible. Keeping your eye on, like, I'm not a big news guy, but I do like to get my community updates. When I was younger and the newspaper would come, it had a pullout section for the Fremont, Newark, Union City called the Argus, right? Or and it would have the local section. I would always pay attention. Other things, guys, that I used to do that would get me business is I would, in the town you live in, I would get the local paper and I would take the sports section. And when somebody was honored, I would go look up the last name in the tax roll. And if I could find their last name, I would cut out the newspaper article and write a note to the parents, not to the kid. That would be weird. Right. So I'd write a note to the parents and I'd slip in a copy. I go, Mr. and Mrs. Smith, just wanted to congratulate you on your daughter's success. I found it in the paper. Here's a copy of the article, and then I would add them to my database. And nobody would unsubscribe, really. Like people would say, don't they unsubscribe? No, they don't. You sent them an article about their daughter. You're a community guy, like, right? That's so easy to do. So
I have a client that does that, and she actually laminates it and sends it in a card, and they just love it. Like she cuts it out of the newspaper, laminates it, and sends it in a cute little card, and everybody.
Is there some little machine that does that stuff?
Yes, I have a laminator. It's in my closet.
Oh, okay.
Amazon.
Does anybody
Right?
sound like she does to anybody else? Does she sound like she's ridiculing me? Anybody? Just me?
He's
Okay.
so adorable. Like he's like, where do you
For
get this
sure.
stuff? I'm like, Amazon. Amazon has all the things.
Rick, I have something to share.
Yeah, Christy, go
That
ahead,
is-
hon.
Sorry, I don't know how to raise my hand on the little.
It's
like-
all right. You just unmute and start talking. We're not that formal here, so.
All right, so I kind of going with the whole news thing, what I decided to do, I did this before COVID. I interviewed a title rep in my office. I interviewed a escrow person in my office, a lender, and I did little reels on them and I posted it on Instagram. And so I went back to that and I actually interviewed them and I broke it up into little reels. And it's like information of what's important, what's going on, especially with the lender, talking about the different types of loans that are out there, talking about the different scores that you need, what you need to get a loan, what you need to get a house. So I started putting that in there because, you know, we're trying to be the information location for our clients. So I did that. And then what I'm doing next week is I'm hosting a panel of different experts and also putting it out there, just kind of like trying to, it's not talking one-on-one with other people, but it's sharing the information of what's going on in the market. And that's kind of what I've been doing lately.
Awesome. I love it. So Christy, are you doing it and seeing results immediately, or are you being patient with waiting for results?
Both. No. So the results that I'm getting are people are calling and they're saying, hey, I just saw that and that was great. Or they're responding, they're DMing and asking like different questions. So when they're asking a question, I'm definitely making sure that I'm putting an asterisk next to their name, that I want to continue that conversation. I invited them to the event, the panel that's going to happen, like, hey, come and see them. Then you could ask these people questions yourself. And kind of doing that, and then also patiently waiting. But the cool thing is I could be out somewhere, maybe my daughter's softball game, and somebody will say, oh my gosh, I saw your little information. So people are watching. That's the cool thing. And they keep tuning in to see what else we're going to provide for them, what kind of information we're going to provide for them. So I'm hoping that it's eventually going to show that I'm working with people who are experts in the field. So it only enhances my knowledge on what I can offer them.
That's incredible. That's incredible. Okay, did anybody learn anything from that right there? Like you got now my mind's kind of because I'm thinking about how I can duplicate that. That's awesome.
Well, first of all, I like what you said about interviewing different experts in their respective fields. I had to step away for a minute and talk to a contractor, so I might have missed some of the discussion earlier. But being an old title guy, I have access to a lot of information. Most of the title companies do. They have like a library. And a while back, an old neighbor came by and said, gee, there was a death in this old single guy. He passed away in the home. He was there for several days. It was kind of a gruesome discussion. Well, not gruesome, but it kind of caught me by surprise. And the relatives were coming out from the Midwest. And so I quickly looked up death of a homeowner, how to handle a probate sale, and there are hundreds of articles. And I gave them to the neighbor because I didn't have the contact information of the relative that was flying out, just as like a little teaser to prove that I had some credibility in this area. I've never done a probate sale. I really don't even know if I know how to do one, but I wanted to try to gain some credibility. So I agree with you. Information is power. And if you can instill, teach people things or have them learn some things through you, I think that's really important, obviously.
Yeah. And Tom, thank you for sharing that. When I was talking to Betty yesterday, Betty was really humble about what she's doing. She'd gotten a listing appointment, and the listing appointment was referred to her by the lady at the senior care home where this guy was going to move. And, but apparently he was going to interview 2 or 3 other people that were also in the same Keller Williams office that Betty's in, like the exact same office. So what did she do? She stopped and thought about, how can I separate myself out and make me stand head and shoulders above? So she started listing that she was a former appraisal. And then she showed an example of where recently, like in the last couple of months, she was able to save her client $10,000 by rebutting a bad appraisal. Then she said, oh, I have this senior transition service where I actually go and measure, listen to this, I go and measure the home, that area that you're moving to at the senior home. And then I look at all your furniture and I tell you which ones will fit there and how. Like, that's not that complicated, but how many people offer that? And that's the kind of thing, Tom, you're saying the same thing. I'm showing them that I have information that all the other agents aren't going to necessarily supply to them. And then, so Betty added the appraisal thing. She added just the fact that she would, do a floor plan management for him. Then she would help him hire a mover. Then Betty, again, being super humble, didn't talk about the fact that he had one of those machines on the staircase that took him upstairs, and he didn't really want to move. He said, do I really have to get rid of that? And she said, honestly, I'd like to tell you, no, you don't, because that's what you'd like to hear. But since I want to tell you the truth more than I want to tell you what you want to hear, the fact is leaving that there will affect our ability to sell your home for the highest dollar in the shortest amount of time. She was so articulate. I'm listening to her and I'm getting my mind blown. And so she said, we will arrange, I have a company that takes those down. She said, and I might possibly be able to sell it for you also. But if not, the company that takes it down doesn't charge. They take it down, they go sell it to someone else, right? So she had every little issue covered. And then guess what she did? Then she goes to send out cards and sends them. She found out that he likes blackjack through the lady that referred him, and that his wife, who passed away, loved flowers. So she sends him a send out card that has flowers on it and tells a joke about rolling the dice, roll the dice and hire me as your realtor, right? So that he's kind of a gambling man, and then includes 2 brownies with it. And he's going to receive them the day before he's supposed to meet with the next agent. Brilliant. Guess what? The guy's caretaker offered her a cup of coffee. She sent the caretaker a handwritten note about, I can't espresso my gratitude enough for you giving me a cup of coffee. Like, she's not even talking about all the great things she did, but she just went out on send out cards and, found all these things and sent them out. Like, there's so much more we could do that are simple, small, inexpensive things that we're not doing to create business. So anyway, it blew me away. So Betty, thanks for being an example. I appreciate it. And she's probably thinking, oh, I thought Rick wasn't listening yesterday, but apparently he heard every word I said.
Okay, I get it.
All right. So really good stuff, guys. And that's the whole thing. I mean, we're coming up on the end of the hour, but I love that we filled it up with us, not anybody else, not a guest speaker, all of us giving each other ideas that we could create more business and a different result. But I got to leave with reminding you, yes, in life, this isn't a life coaching session, this is a real estate coaching. In life, you want to end up with 4 pillars of income, right? If you, like, I have a friend, he's the Social Security is one of his pillars of income, right? He gets Social Security. And he said in the second year that you get Social Security, you're allowed to make up to 60 grand. I don't even know these rules, right? But that you can make more in the second year of Social Security, you're legally allowed to make more. Does anybody know about this stuff? Anyway, so he went and got a job where he'll get paid that much. And adding pillars to your income is a big thing. But in real estate, it's vital. It's vital. Those pillars are your 4 different ways of bringing or attracting business to yourself. I'm going to tell you right now, yes, maybe open houses aren't going to be something that are allowed during major pandemics, but right now they're an incredible pillar of income, along with all of the other things you guys mentioned here. So, all right, that's my story and I'm sticking to it. Any last comments, ahas, questions, thoughts before we end the call? Okay. Love you guys all. We'll get this recording out soon. Oh,
yeah,
who
Rick,
is
I've
that?
got a quick one.
Yeah. That sounds like Tom Costello.
It is Tom Costello.
Yeah.
Thanks for recognizing my voice, Rick. I got my camera off. I apologize. I'm at the gym finishing up. I was going to share this earlier, but Betty Fernandez was so eloquent and so amazing with her talk about senior care. I just felt a little diminished by comparison, but I know this is not comparison, so I'll share it. I got a lead from a friend who actually is the intake manager for a senior care facility. And she invited me to a mixer that actually got canceled because the woman got COVID, but I'm following up and going to several mixers with her. I've already been SRES certified, which is a senior care facility, just training on how to the transition them and help them. But one of the coolest things about it is just what you said earlier, Rick, and that in your early 20s or at the beginning of your career, you started working with these people, not because you were their age, but because you understood their needs. And that is so important, not only in this, whether you're a Gen X, a millennial, whatever, it's not you being them, it's that you understand what they want and need and you can deliver it to them, which is the human aspect of our business. So I'm excited to help these people, even though, when they look at me, they're like, okay, well, what do you know about us? What do you know about what? And that's, of course, a story in my head. But when I just literally just talk to them, just be their friend, just listen to what they have to say. What I love about what Betty does is helping people transition, making their bed, making them feel at home, helping them acclimate to their new environment, which is a huge thing because of the fear factor. And just being able to do that makes such a huge difference in anyone's life, but especially in a senior care facility situation. So that's all.
Absolutely. Yeah, keep pursuing that, Tom, that even if it was canceled, it's going to be a huge, I've got a buddy of mine in Reno who does over 100 transactions a year just through his connections in the senior world. So yeah, keep it up.
I love Tom Costello.
All right.
And I love Booker Betty. She's amazing. It's just a
All
love
right.
fest on this happy Friday.
Aw.
All right.
Rick,
Well, you
thank
guys
you.
Bye,
go out.
everybody.
Thanks for
You
doing
guys go
this.
out and enjoy Friday Taco Day and Cinco de Mayo. See you
Maya.
guys all next time. Bye-bye.
Thanks, guys. Bye.